Good morning. It is early in the morning on Saturday, March 25th, 2023, and I'm going out to the garden to pick some greens for breakfast. I'm going to cook down some greens with some onions and peppers and sausage. And since I'm out here, I'm going to go ahead and give these fat pigs a little snack for breakfast. You can see they're really excited and rambunctious. I'm guesstimating these pigs to be about 200 pounds now. These two big ones, they're Berkshire Yorkshire. The pink one is a male, or a bar, and the black and white one is a female. So bar means that he's a cut male. And they're about 7 months old. And we are just waiting for a day that we have time, and we need to do some freezer rearranging to be able to put these up in the freezer, because my goal was always to have them butchered by Easter. And we got them in October, late October, and we've been raising them in this piglet fence from Premier One, the 100 feet roll, which gave them plenty of room, and we've moved them around our yard to fresh grass. We're not gonna move them around again before we butcher them, because like I say, we're getting geared up to butcher them, so we're not gonna move them again. But we will be holding on to the little one. She is best I can tell from the person I got her from, she's the mama was a Julienne, and the daddy was a Berkshire Pineywood Rooter, which is our local wild pig, is what I call the Pineywood Rooters. And we got her for lard, and these other two pigs are gonna be bacon and ham and Boston butt. But you can see he's got some nice bacon on him, on his sides. So I'm really interested. We haven't made bacon yet. We haven't done a home brine bacon. We've done a lot of different sausages and bratwurst and pork chops, and back in the winter we did, someone gave us, the guy that we bought these feeder pigs from gave us 3 Julienne, full-grown 3-year-old Julienne pigs that had just took up at his house, and we butchered them, and they had the best lard and the best pork chops and meat on them for sausage. So we made a pretty good amount of lard from them, and I want to get to where I am at the point where I want to completely cut the seed oils from our pantry and our diet, and use almost exclusively for our fats and oil intake animal fat, coconut oil, and olive oil. So we don't have any of this refined soybeans or rapeseed oil that we're putting in our bodies, because it's not good for you. So on the way to the garden, we'll go ahead and let the chickens out. I've got my flower beds and my garden locked down from them, where they can free range. I only do it when we're home. We can free range. We got 2 roosters right now that are running with the flock. That red rooster we hatched, and we also hatched that orange rooster. And then we have a variety. Those 2 in the front we hatched from our flock. There's a cuckoo Moran, got a blue Australorp, some Americanas. These red ones with the bandanas on their back are red broilers. And I think that they're from Valley Farms in Muscle Shoals, Alabama. But last time I got red broilers from them, well, not last time, but the time before, I kept 4 hens and I got straight run. The last time I ordered straight run of their broilers last fall, they sent me all roosters. So I ordered a mixture of Cornish X and red broilers again, and they sent me all roosters. And then I hatched a bunch of red broilers from those hens and my rooster, which is a Buff Orpington Freedom Ranger mix, who is just massive. And from him and those red broiler hens, I hatched my own land race broiler roosters. So I ended up with the 7 that I had. I hatched 7 more, and I ended up processing 14 roosters. And this little silver duck here is one that we hatched at Thanksgiving, and he turned out to be a he. And he was with chickens and hung out with chickens his whole life. He didn't really try to get in with the duck crew, but now he is now he's getting a breeding age, and it's duck breeding season because it's spring, and he's trying to work his way into the crowd. And I've got 3 male ducks and 4 female ducks in my established duck crew, and those male ducks are not trying to make any room for another one. So I will have to I do have some duck eggs in the incubator that I'm trying to hatch right now with some goose eggs, and I did that in case I do want to increase my female ducks. You know, every time I've hatched ducks here in the past year, they've been males. So I do want to have some more females, but we will have to end up culling some males, because 3 is my max on the males. And here is the current flock. They are a Cayuga female, a Rowan female, and then these 2 mallard looking females that I bought from the same lady I got the Julienne mixed pig from. I don't know what they are. I think she probably got them from an auction, but they are smaller duck, and they look like mallards, but they lay every day, and they've laid every day since the day I brought them home. So mallards usually don't lay that much, so they might be a hybrid. But the 2 other males, or the 3 males that we have, is a Cayuga mix male, and he might be a full-blooded Cayuga, because we used to have a pair of Cayugas until I culled one of the males when he came along. So he may be a full blood, or he might be a mix. And then the other 2 is I got a crested khaki Campbell male and a partially crested white fawn runner duck male. And then this is another one of the hens that we hatched last year. She is very heavy, so she is definitely a good dual purpose landrace homestead hen. And then there's a black Astralorp. I'm not sure if she's a full black Astralorp or if she is a baby that we hatched from our Copper Morans or black Astralorp hens in the previous year. We did have some we usually have some pure black Astralorp running around when we get fresh pullets from the feed store here and there. And then the silver one was an Americana or Easter egger that we got. That's another Americana. Those were all the silver ones, and this little fawn, blue fawn right here is Americanas that we got from the feed store. And then this girl right here, she has a beard, but we hatched her, so she's an Americana Freedom Ranger type mix, and she has another one that looks just like her, and they lay huge green double yolker eggs almost every day. That's the thing about these broiler hybrids, is they lay a lot of double yolker eggs. And so she, even though she looks like an Americana, she's got that Freedom Ranger in her, so she's really heavy. She's got more breast, and she lays big double yolker green eggs that actually look like they're so big that they look like 2 eggs just fused together. You can't even hardly hold them in your hand. They're the size of a goose egg almost. And this is my my red broiler that I hatched, rooster. And I don't know how long I'll keep him around, because I did hatch a rooster from my blue Astralorp, and this rooster here that is really big and nice, and I love the blue and lavender and silvers, and so I think that he's going to be a keeper for me. And there's another golden buff that we hatched. And then I do have a buff, pure buff Orpington hen that she could have came from, but who is to know exactly. So my amaryllis that have been blooming, I haven't taken any shots of them. They're kind of, some of them are dying back, and the new ones are starting to bloom. But all of the amaryllis that are over here, at least the majority of them that are blooming first, are these white and red ones that I buy myself for Christmas every year. I buy my mother-in-law's and mother's and aunt's amaryllis, and I buy one for myself to have in my kitchen throughout the winter. And I plant them out in this garden, and that's where all these red and white ones came from. And there is one that I'm not sure where he came from. Might have been a different year. I got a different one, but when this one bloomed, it was like a cup-shaped dark red. So I did have some volunteer salvias, the Cleopatra purple salvias that I had in my flower pot, and so I planted some down here to get some more started. And then I still have a few that are later of these amaryllis that are about to bloom, and my walking irises have started to bloom. And the chickens were in here when it was before all the stuff started coming up, digging in here a lot, and hopefully they didn't dig up my spider lilies. But in here I've already started, my canna lilies have started to come back. There's a sunflower that I planted there. I planted a couple of those Mexican sunflowers. There's one there, and one at the end down there. So there's one big one right there. So this one has got some sunflowers and Mexican sunflowers planted out in it. But hopefully my variegated ginger is right there. It's coming back now that I got the chickens out of here. And also I got some monkey grass right there that has a blue flower that comes back. And then there's also a fern that's growing in there. And then some of these snapdragons came back, and planted a couple new ones with them, and these pretty pansies. So this is a really pretty, these two that are flanking our garden. So these are the Black Knights, or Black Prince, or whatever, that I planted from seed last year, and then I popped in another fuchsia colored one with it, and that's what we got growing flanking our garden. So while we're walking around picking some greens, we will kind of see how everything's growing. This is my patty pan squash and some sunflowers in here that are growing bigger. Here is some of the tomatoes. I've been planting these tomatoes out, and some of these are for my seeds. Like this is a bush steak hybrid. That's a Chef's Choice orange, and some white tomasols, and the rest of them are just mixed seeds that I saved from our other stuff that we grew in the fall. Here is our beans. So I planted sunflowers all throughout this bean bed. This bean bed has some rattlesnake beans and some purple runner beans and the purple bush beans. This right here is our strike beans throughout there, but periodically throughout this whole bed I planted some sunflowers. There's a big sunflower right there. And then this section is the purple beans. All these are purple bush beans and purple pole beans. And this is our herb bed where I planted lots and lots of herbs. Those are some flowers. I'm not sure. I don't remember exactly if those are the yellow flowers that you can make the salve and everything with. I can't think of the name of them right now. But I got some carrots growing in here. I got a bunch of cilantro, which I'm going to pick. I think this is the parsley on this end. I have to taste it. Definitely parsley. The cilantro is on the other end. And I got a bunch of nasturtiums, different flowers, medicinal flowers in here. And then this is some kind of green. I'll grab some of this. And then here's my cilantro. Grab a little handful of that. My nasturtiums haven't started blooming yet. And then I pulled out those 2 bok choys. They were going to seed pretty good. And we've cut back on the water. I'm going to cut back all the bad stuff off my celery. And I got a bunch of radishes growing in there. And my cucumbers are starting to put off flowers in the tire here. And my Mizuna is going to seed. And also I have peas in here which are starting to hang on. So I finally uncovered my yellow squash and my zucchini squash that I had covered up. And you can see we have yellow squash. So it was definitely time to uncover them because I had a lot of babies starting to come in there. So I'm really excited. Hopefully those opened up and this morning and found some pollinators. There's a lot of female squash, and I don't know if that slick pick was a female only seed or not, but I haven't seen this much just females on there, so they might be. But there's also some different ones in here, the early straight yellows. So that's an early straight yellow, and then there's some slick picks throughout there from Hoss Tools. And then my cabbages are trying to peek through. They are still growing big. And I got some cabbage, some more cabbage and some broccoli right there. And then this huge radish I've let go in this bed has put on so many flowers, and I just left it because the bees love it. My Mizuna's going to flower. This delicious, hot, spicy purple mustard right here, he's starting to try to go to flower. I'm gonna pick that off. Well, he has actually. He's set up a shot right here. I'm definitely going to grab a couple of these for our breakfast because they are so spicy and delicious. And then here's another big radish that's in here that's gone to seed. Or about to go to seed. It's huge. It's gotten really, really huge. And then I've planted some tarragon in here and some summer savory. That's what that is down there. And a couple of the Peter Pan squash are in here too that I had left over. And then from over here you can see our corn. Our corn is jumping. It is looking good. The Silver Queen is the taller one throughout the middle. And then we got our winter squash on the left. And our our potatoes are finally jumping up high. So they like it the weather's finally cooling off a little bit, or warming up a little bit. And then so in our zucchini bed, there's a slick pick right there on the end, but the rest of this is green zucchini. And it is putting off flowers also, and a lot of fruit. It's an early yellow back there. It's got a lot of females on there. And we just uncovered this a few days ago. So hopefully these can get pollinated. And behind me, we still got our cucumbers that are still trying to climb up that trellis. And then our lovely greens bed. This is our kale bed, and it has some awesome kale in here. Very nice. I'm not sure if this is a turnip down in here. This might be a turnip. It looks like a turnip. These might be turnips right here, but they have the greens on these turnips are so delicious. So we're definitely, and then we have this curly kale. It's awesome. It's going to be so delicious in our breakfast. And our peas, these peas are finally starting to climb a little bit. And our cabbages are trying to start heading up in here. They are getting massive. Still nothing in the back corner. And all the greens that we planted back here are starting to go to seed. A lot of them are flowering. But this is that wide type Mizuna that is really good. I am definitely going to be sad to see the greens go. I do have another one. Look, there's a volunteer melon. I planted melons in this bed last year. There's some volunteer corn. I don't know where the corn came from, but there's some corn in there. There's a melon. I know where the melon came from because I planted melons in there. They didn't really do anything. To regroup on my greens here. And then these carrots, they're not getting much sun, so they're not growing very fast. This curly kale's going to flower. But the bees are enjoying my greens going to flower because I don't have a lot of flowers growing in here yet. Pretty much the only flowers that are flowering inside here are all these greens. So that's a good precursor to get them to come in here and start working on my squash. Let's see how the tomatoes are doing. All the broccoli is still sitting there flowering for all the bees. And then our tomatoes are finally starting to jump on this end. We got a sunflower right there. That lettuce is still looking awesome. And you can see on the back side, you can see all those little Merlot lettuce that's coming up. And we got our basil that's starting to get some size. Need to go ahead and weed again in here. Some ants are trying to congregate around that basil. He's looking good. And so yeah, that's good. They're finally starting to jump. Got a few warm days. These beans are the Taylor beans, and they are starting to tassel. I got a Mexican sunflower in there and some cucumbers. But they're starting to get up. And last weekend, I filled up this bottom half of this bed that we redid. So now all I have to do is I can start planting in here. And then I just need to finish filling up the top half and I can start planting in there. And then here is what these are looking like. They look like they need to be, that one right there in the middle needs to be tied up. That's Aunt Ruby's German green. And we got a bunch of basil growing. So that's what that's looking like. And then we got our onions. Still got a lot of corn that I don't know what I'm going to do with. And we started filling up this new bed right here. And the new bed down here. And then this one in the corner is actually going to be a sunflower and zinnia bed. Just going to plant flowers in there. And then this lettuce is starting to go. Starting to head up and try to put out some flowers. My Gustav lettuce, which I thoroughly enjoyed. I'll probably come out here and try to pick a bunch of salad this weekend to meal prep for next week before it all goes. And then my spaghetti squash are starting to put out tendrils and grab hold. And I just mulched these with some hay and put down, last weekend I put down a lot of Sluggo in here. So that is very exciting that these guys are sitting off tendrils and are about to start climbing. And then here is my succession green bed, and these are looking awesome. This is pak choy and mustard and the curly mustard. And then here's my succession lettuce. And then in this bed here, which I've got to clean up all this stuff, but I planted tomatoes and I've got a few melons. We planted this whole bed in melons, and then before I could put the mulch and everything down, we had a lot of rain, and then we worked on the sprinkler in here, and so a bunch of them got washed away. So we're starting over with our melons, but I did have 4 or 5 that were resilient and survived in there, and I just planted these tomatoes against the fence, and I got some of my paste tomatoes, those Gilbertese, some of the red cherries, and some of the black crims that I planted on the back. And then right here in these tires I also planted, and I planted one right here in this tire in the middle of these onions. So back here, this is pretty much the same. My collards and a couple of cabbage back here. I haven't replanted this bed since the chickens got a hold of it, but the greens that did survive are doing okay. And then right here I have beans. I think these are the yellow wax beans that I planted in here. So I'm still going to plant that bed right there, just not sure what yet. Maybe the Odessa squash, or I might end up planting the Odessa squash right there because it's a viner, and getting it to train along the top of that fence. But I will be planting that out today sometime. So a little bit of progress on the garden. It's just getting to where it's transitioning more, and everything's starting to start producing, and the greens are coming out, but still a lot of work to be done for our spring garden. So I will talk to you guys in a little bit. I am hoping that I can get to the incubator today and review the incubator that we got, the new one, the Maddie Coop X, or Maddie X Coop, or whatever it's called. And it's in this tractor. They have spent their first night outside. The geese, they are 2 weeks old now, and they are growing like crazy. And then our 2 little lion head bunnies are back there, and we have been bringing them, putting them out in this tractor during the day, and then, or when we get home, and putting them up at night. But last night it was very warm, so I went ahead and left them out here to see how they would do, and they did just fine. So I think we can leave them out here, unless we get a cold night. We can leave them out here, but in a couple of weeks they'll be just fine no matter what. So I will get to my breakfast, and I will talk to you guys in a little while.